to get to the bottom of this, and we need to tell the Public Service Commission to up its game, and if they cannot perform, Madam Speaker, we need to change it. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support this bill with a few amendments. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Atandi, member for Alego Usonga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would have opposed this bill if it was not for the fact that it is here because of my colleague and friend, the Honorable Major Donk. Madam Speaker, retirement age, ideally, is not something which should be fixed in law. It is something which should only exist in the policy documents of government, so that every government that comes into place, they can easily tamper with the retirement age of its population. I say this, Madam Speaker, because I believe that retirement age should be determined by some factors, which I'm going to cite. One of the factors which should be used to determine retirement age is the demographic trend of a country. For example, Madam Speaker, in our country right now, we have a more youthful population. About 70% of our population are youth. About between 20 to 15% constitute the seniors, the people I call the seniors. So if you have a trend like what we have now, then retirement age should actually be lowered so that we address the needs of the demographic population of our country. So if you ask me about retirement age today, I would say it should be brought down to 55 or 50, because the people we need to take care of are more in the lower bracket than in the higher bracket. If you go to countries like USA, those countries are having problems with the aging population. There are more older people than young people. So the retirement age in those countries is higher. Like now, US, I think, is 67 to 70. So that's why I mean, Madam Speaker, that it cannot be set in law. So if we pass a law fixing retirement age to 60, and next year or the years after, there are more older people, we need to increase that age to 70. Because if there are more older people in a country and the retirement age is lower, it means you are putting a burden of keeping the older people in a country. It's going to be very higher, and it's going to affect the performance of the economy of our country. So, Madam Speaker, I sincerely feel that my colleague would look at this law and look at it in line with the democratic status of our country. The other factor, Madam Speaker, which I believe is important in determining the retirement age of our country is gender. Because, Madam Speaker, in some countries like Indonesia, you find that the female gender, they have a lower retirement age. And I believe in Kenya, we need to do that. Because given that right now we are having social problems, which are caused by parentage problems, parenthood, weak parenthood. We're having things like alcoholism, things like LGBTQ, all these problems. We need to allow our female gender to retire early so that they can also go and attend to the challenges we're having like these ones, which most of them are happening, by the way, because parents are not engaged in taking care of their children. They are working. Kila mtu anazunguka huku na huku. So, Madam Speaker, this gender question is something which I think this House needs to take note of. Because we are, in as much as we want people to earn money, but we also should be interested in the future of our country. What kind of people are we raising? Madam Speaker, the other factor which I also think should be considered when looking at retirement age is that we need to separate between private sector and public sector. So that if you're working in the private sector, you could be allowed to retire earlier. But people working in public sector, for reasons that we know, that public sector we need people who have been there longer to continue serving because of history and track record.
Order, Honorable Member for Alego Usonga. The Honorable Nyenze, are you on an intervention?
Speaker, I want to contribute.
Or you are just being strategic?
Yes.
You may proceed to conclude, Honorable Member for...
Thank you. So, Madam Speaker,
Samuel Atandi, you may proceed to conclude.
I was saying that we need to separate between people in public sector and people in private sector. And my view is that if you're in private sector, we need to maybe have a shorter retirement period than if you're in public sector. Public sector, we may need people or to stay longer because of the history and, the experience of public sector is very specific. So that's something which we need to put into consideration. Madam Speaker, there are countries that have given us very good examples of how to manage retirement age. If you go to a country like Thailand, retirement age is 55 because the youth are more than the elders. So, but they are always increasing the retirement age every year. Every year they add because they are checking the advancement of these ages vis-a-vis the resources they have. So, Madam Speaker, as I said when I started, that if it were not that this motion was brought by somebody who is my close friend of mine, I would oppose it in totality, because this is not something which we need to put in law. If we put it in law and tomorrow the aging demographic trend changes so that we have more older people, if the population of our country, say 50% are older, you cannot reduce the retirement age. You have to increase the retirement age so that the people who are older can continue working. But if the youths are more, then you lower it. Right now, actually, we need to have it at 55 or 50, because all these youths that we are graduating every day, where are they? They are not getting jobs. So let the old people leave early, the young people get the jobs right now. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Rindikiri, member for Buri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill basically addresses three key issues: the age of retirement, the acting, and the contract. Madam Speaker, I think I agree with all the members, and specifically the mover, that we need to make amendment on clause 2, 3, and 4